Massive shout out to YouTuber Wide Awake for his latest video capture of a black swan. I'll pop a link to the original video down below so you can go over to his channel and subscribe immediately. Another massive shout out to Wide Awake.
Now I'm going to let some natural audio go on here shortly.
That's what I should see right there, because I'm not getting so much magnification as I am compression. And it's also hidden in that light and distortion. Let's see if we can't find that a little bit later. I'll find the north rack. Let me go back to the rack and get my phone out here and record this. The tide's coming back in on me here. Oh, where were you? There you go.
All right, due to the water coming in, tide getting higher, I had to move my camera out from in front of that bush that most people, see in my videos sometimes. As a matter of fact, I did a video where I was zoomed through that bush with a boat well beyond it. But anyhow, I had to move the camera because I was wind up standing in mud, and this is really some nasty mud underneath your feet when you get into it. But I just wanted to show that my camera was up at 5 feet here during this part of the Cutter's Rocks observation. Later on, I do go in and get a lower perspective of it, and I will show that. But I also had to increase my ISO all the way up as high as I could go in order to actually get a good visibility on it.
This beforehand. Look at this reflection off the water here. Dude. Everything is good down through as a reflection. But look at here. Here is Cutter's Rock. And this is about the size that I think it should be, but it shouldn't be so distorted and compressed. But there's Cutter's Rock. I'll show you where my camera's located. And my tripod's 5 feet. Okay, so I do have it 5 feet. But that's what I should see, the size of it, as far as size-wise, prospectively, from 11.05 miles out. Look at that. And water beyond it. That is awesome.
I'm doing something I don't normally like to do. I don't normally like to cut a lot of my stuff and edit it, but I am going to cut and edit some of this because what I want to do is skip over to later in the evening when it does start getting a little darker. Like I said, I had to also increase my ISO on here. Again, here, look at this boat that's even way further past there. And Glovers want to say that this is being, all these humps and bumps and big, huge bulge is disappearing and allowing me to see some of these boats. I personally don't believe that that's the case after all the observations I've done, and seeing the difference between a day of good visibility and a day of bad visibility as far as weather conditions hindering my optics. Now I had a boat similar to this in a previous video that went by the Billy Steele's rack. Matter of fact, that almost looks like the same boat. But anyhow, that's for another video again. I just want to get to this other part because this video is getting longer than what I wanted to. So let me skip over to that.
Gotta get down here. You know that my camera's here. Water's right there. I mean, I'm a few inches above, but there's Cutter's Rock. You can see it flashing, and I'm at 28 inches, and you can still see that there's the light flashing on it. But that's definitely Cutter's Rock. I mean, I can only see so many racks from this position, but definitely got this one. Definitely got it.
All right, I'm going to talk through this little part here until I get the locate the Cutter's Rock rack. This is the part that you've seen in the cell phone footage. The only reason I want to say this is because when there's mirroring, heavy mirroring, that mirroring is really, really close to you. And then when there is, a lot better visibility, the mirroring still is occurring, but it's occurring way further out on that far edge. And in other words, that the mirroring effect is still occurring, and it is blocking us out from the horizon still. It's actually mirroring the clouds above it. So there is a portion out there that does have some mirroring effect going on. And I apologize for this, grainy footage, but this is what happens when you have a low light camera and you have to crank up, your ISO to pick up more light in order for you to see it a little bit longer. Because eventually, even though you have your ISO turned all the way up, it just gets too dark and you just cannot see nothing. In the same way with the infrared camera, once it gets too dark, even with the low light setting on it, you're only going to be able to see for so long. But, as you see, I'm skimming across here, you see the clouds in the background. Another thing I want to bring up is also sometimes the visibility is better north of me sometimes, or better south of me sometimes than it is the other direction. But then I find sometimes it's just as good directly west of me too. In other words, it really has a lot to do with that illumination, how much cloud cover you got, how much the clouds filter out the light. This is all playing a role in what obscures our visibility. Now, I mean, obviously on my cell phone footage, it even looked better than through the camera. That's because when I'm looking at the viewfinder, I don't see as much of this grainy stuff. But as soon as I put it on my computer, I have this grainy effect. But that right there is Cutter's Rock. Again, I know there's a little discrepancy in the distance. Originally I thought it was 11.05 miles. Taboo Conspiracies redid the coordinates on it, came up with 11.22 miles. I measured it on my navigation maps and come up with 11.75 miles. So let's just average it out and say 11 miles at 28 inches. I should not be seeing this at all. It would have to be well below the curvature of Earth. There should be a great big huge bulge in front of me of water that will be blocking this out, but obviously there is none. Why? Because of visibility. The song from the Beatles, I can see for miles and miles and miles. Well, that's what I'm seeing. And they basically tell you the same thing. I think a lot of these people that flew around the country or flew over around this plane, I think they seen things and, discovered this themselves. But, of course, they'd be called crazy idiots if they came out and told the public that the world was flat. But obviously, there's a lot more airplane pilots coming out saying, yes, we fly over a plane. They don't see curvature. So, again, we got some really, really good people coming out and actually being truthful about things, and that's what I like to see. All right, next I'd like to put up a bunch of pictures and kind of talk them over as I go through them. Okay, this is the Bayport entrance rack. Obviously, you can see that light tracing all the way across. You can see some of the birds out there, some rocks out there. But what don't you see? You don't see no big, huge hump of water. There's no bulging water. There's Cutter's Rock. Again, my camera's still at 28 inches.